The Steelers did not get it done. It's Locked On NFL on a Friday with Tony Wiggins and your boy Q.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to another edition of Locked On NFL on a Friday. I am Tony Wiggins along with your boy Q. I'm the host of Locked On Jaguars, by the way, and he is Locked On Raiders. A little difference today. You know, we got it mixed up a little bit.
Switching things up a little bit.
Still another brother, but the wrong one, right? No, I'm just joking. Yeah,
We're brothers.
yeah, I know it, right? But man, Chris Carter had some extra duty, and he did my show on Wednesday with James Rapine. So we got it together. First of all, we got to talk about the game. Pittsburgh, they still got some quarterback issues, man, and everybody's going to call for Kenny Pickett. They lose in Cleveland. Give me your assessment of the game and what this means for Pittsburgh moving forward.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that Pittsburgh has a quarterback situation, and Kenny Pickett, they're going to be calling the names out pretty soon, calling his name out pretty soon. I'll tell you what, man, on the Cleveland side of things, I don't think anyone's too upset at Jacobi Brissett right now. He's giving them a hell of a chance to win games. I mean, he did some things, and he's showing some fire. He knows that it's not going to be his job all season long. He knows that Deshaun Watson is going to come back. But, man, Amp, what I saw from Jacobi Brissett on Thursday night wasn't too bad, man. He's going to have him a job quick, fast, and in a hurry because he's playing some good ball. He's giving Cleveland an opportunity to win games, and that's why they're sitting there at 2-1 right now.
I wish I had gone on BetOnline, who's our sponsor today. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before, because I bet BetOnline would have probably told us or given us some sort of hint that Jacobi Brissett was not going to repeat the game that he had last week. He had it going, man. He was so efficient, and I was a little bit surprised by how efficient he was and how Pittsburgh wasn't able to get him off of his square a little bit. And apparently what they said in the production meeting, according to the broadcast, was he said he was going to break the huddle and find number 39. He was going to find Minka Fitzpatrick. They were going formation away from him, and he was just going to take him out of the play. And Minka was non-existent tonight. Yep. Do you think that Pittsburgh will start to go ahead and move forward now? They can't give away too many games. They're a good enough team, too, that if they keep going with Trubisky, I thought somebody asked me earlier. Let me get to this, and I'll let you comment. Somebody said, why aren't they just going with the young guy if they're just going to keep this basic offense? I said, well, maybe they fear they can't protect him. Right. Because, a young guy get ruined now. I think Trubisky got ruined in Chicago by not having a line. And maybe that's the only reason, but I hate second-guessing guys like Mike Tomlin because I have so much respect for him. But at some point, don't you have to go to the young kid?
Yeah, you do at some point, and I think he knows that. I don't think it's yet. I think it's still a couple of weeks away, but you're right. I mean, especially in the AFC in general, you don't want to drop too many games, right, because that conference is a hell of a conference. Of course, I cover a team in the AFC West where the division is, top to bottom stacked, but, I mean, the conference in general is tough. So, yeah, you can't drop too many games. I think you still have to give Trubisky a little bit of an opportunity to do his thing. I'll tell you, man, another thing that I saw from this game, the defense for Pittsburgh wasn't very good. Right. I expected the defense and the run game to really help out, and Trubisky would have to do the minimal work. And it's funny, you flip it over on the other side of things and you look at Cleveland, their defense was good. Their run game was good. And Jacobi Brissett had to do a minimal amount of work, but he did a lot of work, right? I mean, he slung the ball around the yard. He ran. He got up with fire. I mean, he showed that he wanted to be a starting quarterback in the league, and he really earned that. But when you got guys like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt behind you, it also helps out. They got a nice little security blanket in that running game.
It does. And you have David and Njoku finally showing up and showing some of that vast potential that he had. And then Amari Cooper. Cooper, the guy that everyone thought wasn't earning his money. They thought he had lost a step. He comes out there tonight, and he's over 100 yards receiving. He is winning one-on-one matchups. He had a long ball that was actually called back. And, oh, by the way, the team that let him go down in Arlington, Texas, they need wide receiver help. Some teams just don't learn, man, and they just do not get it. But they actually did look very good tonight. And, I started to have doubts about Kevin Stefanski. I started to have doubts about the entire Cleveland organization because when you look at their roster, they have a real good offensive line. Of course, they have Myles Garrett, who's the top 5 defensive player in the league. And they had all of those high picks at all of these different spots. And you're thinking, What is it about them that they cannot get over the hump? And then, of course, when you add in the Deshaun Watson saga, you're thinking that, okay, they don't really care about this year very much. They're just going to try to survive and see if they can bring him back for those last 6 games. You look up now, they're 2-1. They're 2-1 now with a lot of potential. Do you think this means a little bit of a turn for them moving forward, where they can have some confidence that they might have a decision they have to make when watching? Of course, he's their guy.
Right, of
but
course.
But if this kid is playing well, do you mess up the chemistry trying to bring him back?
I don't. I mean, of course, luckily for Cleveland, they're a long way away from Deshaun Watson coming back. I mean, he don't come back to week 13. But I look at it and say, well, this guy's getting it done. So if Jacoby Brissett continues to get it done, at the very least, at least the Browns realize, hey, man, this season isn't a wash. This season isn't down the tubes, right? Jacoby Brissett can keep us afloat. You know what? He could also win some games for us. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be in a great position when Deshaun comes back. And then, like you said, have a decision to make. They might go and toss the ball to Deshaun, and he might go out there and not look good. I mean, think about how long it's been since he played, right? He hasn't played in a long time. So, you might just have to ride that hot hand. You might have to go with, dance with the one that brought you, right? I mean, you might just have to do that. But again, Cleveland would love to be in that position to have to make that decision. Everyone thought that this season was done. They were going to have to trade for somebody because, well, Watson's out. Jacoby Brissett ain't nothing. Well, Jacoby Brissett showing everyone like, hey, wait a minute, hold on. What are you sleeping on me for, man? I've been in New England. I've been in Miami. I've been with the Colts. I'm here now. I got this. So I'm liking what I saw. And I think that Jacoby Brissett at the end of the day, because every team in the league needs quarterbacks. We know this each and every year. I think he's at least earning some money, in the offseason, depending on how everything shakes out. He's at least, saying, I'm serviceable. I could be a guy that you could pay some nice coin to, and I could lead your team.
And you absolutely need those types of guys in the National Football League. Dudes that'll just they'll get you through a rough spell. Now, you don't want to obviously go into an entire season.
Guys are prepared, right? They know that you can count on them. You know that they're going to read their book. You know that they're not going to be in trouble. You know that they were going to do everything they can to win games. Those are important dudes in the league, man. They really are.
And they know what they can do, but more importantly, they know what they can't do. And they don't go in there trying to play hero ball. They go in there and be the consummate professional. And sometimes the backup quarterback is like the special teams coach. They know everything. They know because they don't have to play. They're in tune with everything. They always have the headset on. So I tell you what, that's a good deal. In segment 2, what we're going to do is, of course, in segment 3, we have our 6-pack of games sponsored by BetOnline. Segment 2, we're going to talk about Q and I are going to pick a team that's 0-2. That cannot go 0-3. I saw Dallas back in the day go 0-2 and they won the Super Bowl. That ain't happening in these days. You're not going to go 0-3 and not, and think you're going to be able to make the playoffs. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get to segment 2. Q and I are going to, I hate to say this like this. We're going to cue it up. And when we cue it up, we're going to figure out who exactly is it that cannot afford to go 0-3, and I'm going to pick a team that nobody expected to go 0-3, and I'm going to do it in just a second here on Locked On NFL after I tell you about Brightco. I got to tell you about Brightco, man, because I have a story. I jumped into the ocean in Cancun, jumped off of a catamaran with a ring on that was really, really loose. And you know what happened? I never found it again. And I did not have insurance. These guys at Brightco are geniuses. They made buying insurance for your engagement ring, your watch, or whatever so freaking easy you can get covered in 2 minutes on your cell phone. You won't find a better deal on great coverage that's super affordable. Bright-co/locked on. It doesn't take you any more than a few minutes to make sure that you can get covered. And for $5 a month, you'll get total comprehensive coverage, and it won't take that long at all. Check it out at bright-co/locked on. That's all you got to do, man. Make sure you check out brightco/locked on. All right, we're rolling along here on segment 2 here on Locked On NFL. It is your boy Q. It is Tony Wiggins. And what we're going to do, man, is pick 2 teams. Q's going to pick one. I'm going to pick the other. And I'm going to let you go first, man, because I think this might hit close to home for you. I don't know if that's what you're going to pick. So I'm going to let you go first. 0-2, 0-3 is a death knell for the 2022 season, especially with some of these teams in these tough divisions. Q, Cue it up and let us know who can't go 0-3.
Well, I'll tell you, looking at the teams that are 0-2, and you look at the Tennessee Titans, you look at the Raiders, you look at the Falcons, and there's one more that you're looking at, and I forget who it is. There's one more, right? Isn't there 4 teams? Oh, the Bengals.
There
Duh.
you go. There you go.
The team that was in the Super Bowl just a year ago. But it does hit home for me, Tony. I mean, I got to say the Raiders, right? The Raiders are in the AFC West. I mentioned that earlier in the show. The AFC West is such a tough division. You have Kansas City that's been the reigning champs forever. The Chargers look like they're really good. Of course, Justin Herbert, got to wonder about his ribs and how he's going to be. But that team is stacked. They went out and did so much in the offseason. So they're a team that most people believe have a chance to win the AFC West. And I wouldn't say that they don't. They have a lot of talent. Russell Wilson's in Denver. I think that's kind of a questionable team right now. I think that they've got some growing pains to go through. But, you look at the Raiders, and that's the team I'm going to pick. And they're actually traveling to Tennessee to play an 0-2 team. So, there's one of these teams that's going to come out of there with the victory. I mean, unless they get a tie, and that would be some just terrible luck for both teams. But I think that with all the expectations, with the move for Devontae Adams, for having, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Derek Carr getting extended, bringing in Josh McDaniels, that's a offensive guru that everyone says is, going to hit all the right buttons and be the great play caller. And look at all the winning he's done in New England. Now he's going to bring that to Las Vegas. And believe me being here in Las Vegas, I hear it every day, how much and how high the expectations are. But again, the big move is, man, when you go and make the move for Devontae Adams, that's a game changer, right? That's the dude who's going to change the trajectory of your team as long as you have some talent there. And they do. They have a ton of talent, but they don't have any wins yet. And they just came off a bad collapse against the Cardinals at home, season home opener, up by 20 at halftime, found a way to lose. So I think that they got to get that terrible taste out of their mouth, that stench off of them. I know that they went and showered multiple times, but, you got that losing smell still on you until you can find a way to get a dub. So I think that the Raiders need that dub more than any team, especially because they're in the AFC West. You can't get too far behind in that division. If you do, you're going to be looking up wondering like Mike Tyson when he got knocked out by Buster Douglas, right? What do I do now? I'm laying on my back. Now what? Well, get your ass up. But he didn't know how to get up. And I don't know if the Raiders will know how to get up if they drop to 0-3. So that's the team that I'm looking at, a team that I cover obviously here in Las Vegas. I think it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They got to move to 1-2 on the season.
Mike couldn't put that mouthpiece in. He's putting it in backwards.
Yeah,
that thing goes like this. It doesn't go like that, right?
Didn't know what happened to him.
He looked like Steph Curry at the free throw line, the way he had it. He was
right. There you
go. so the thing I want to ask you, though, is because I did see the end of, before I get to my team, I did see the end of the Raiders Cardinals. I absolutely could not believe what I saw, by the way.
Me neither. I was there.
I know. I was blown away because I actually turned away because I said when the Cardinals didn't convert, I said, oh, it's done. The Raiders gonna get the ball back. Yeah. And then I looked up and they lost. So what is it? Because it's not talent. You mentioned Tay Adams, Derek Carr. Whether you love him or not, he's actually statistically played well. You get Max Crosby. You go out and pay all that money to Chandler Jones. It's almost like they're not missing a whole bunch of pieces. What haven't they been able to put together?
A full game. That's what it is. I mean, they're 0-2 because they played 2 good quarters against the Chargers in week 1, and they played 2 good quarters against the Cardinals in week 2. And as you know, football is a 4-quarter game, right? And it's so funny. A beat writer actually asked Devontae Adams this past week, hey, you guys played 2 really good quarters against the Chargers and 2 really good quarters against the Cardinals. If you add up that score, it's 39-6. So you guys are really good. And Devontae Adams said, yeah, but football's not played like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you can't pick 2 quarters from one game and 2 quarters from another game and call it a complete game. Didn't play a complete game. Haven't played one complete game yet. Haven't finished. They got to learn how to finish games. They played a terrible first half against the Chargers and played a terrible second half against the Cardinals. So they've got to figure out how to play 4 quarters. And they're going to go to Tennessee and play a very tough Mike Vrabel team. And Mike Vrabel is a very tough coach. It's going to be a physical game, and Derrick Henry is a monster. Now, they're not playing great either, but they're at home, and Mike Vrabel ain't no punk. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough out for the Raiders come Sunday. But that's a team I think has to find a way to win more than the Titans do, because the Titans division, as you know, isn't as strong as the AFC West. If they drop to 0-3, they still have a chance. Raiders drop to 0-3, I think it's donezo.
It's over. All right, so I'm going to get to mine. Mine comes with a caveat, and that caveat is the expectations were so high for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yep. They were a quick errand Donald pass rush away from catching Jamar Chase down the sideline because Jalen Ramsey fell down, and they would have won the Super Bowl in the Rams stadium. And then the expectations was, okay, they're going to get Lyle Collins. They had a really, really good draft. They got Daxton Hill, and they added some pieces. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. And this is the lesson that I learned. I forgot which one of these Jaguar coaches that got fired. There's so many of them. I can't remember who said it. But
I know about that too.
Somebody said this. You don't gain anything from last year. It's not as if it carries over.
Right.
The only thing you learn is mentally. But you got to start completely over in training camp. You got to do more up downs. You got to do the crab drills. You got to do the meetings. Last year has nothing to do with this year. And we have seen that right now because not only are they 0-2, they lost 2 close games. They should have beat Pittsburgh, okay? Up there in that crazy wild game they had up there. And then last week against Dallas, they probably saw Dallas the week before, only scored 3 or 6 points against the Bucs and say, okay, we're going to be able to stymie them. And then they got a new quarterback, and Dallas has a lights-out defense, and Michael Parsons wasn't having none of that foolishness that I'm talking about. So what happened is, this is the stunner. The stunner is Joe Burrow has looked really, really average. And I have him on my fantasy team, and I know he's looked average. And all of those receivers that everyone talks about, okay, they played well. They made some stats. Joe Mixon hadn't really got on. The offensive line looks horrible. So for me, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. It's almost as if this is a must-win game for them this week because they got the Dolphins next Thursday.
Yeah. And they look good. They look good.
So if they don't win, and not only win, but start to play better and score more than 17 to 20 points and start to look like that team that went to the Super Bowl last year, they are in a world of hurt, and you're going to see people pulling out their flashlights looking for Zach Taylor again in the daytime because it's like he got a mulligan last year because they were so successful. Folks have a very, very short memory. You think it doesn't help you for last year, what you did on the field. I'm telling you what don't help you last year. When you start going 0-3 in places like that where they have expectations, those people will be coming for you, and you're going to start hearing those rumblings. So for me, it's Cincinnati.
No, and they will hear those rumblings. The other thing about that is if they have a terrible season this year, everyone will say, "Oh, that was just a one-off." That was just a really good year, but that team really stinks still, right? I mean, because they've carried that stink around for a long time. So it's very important that they follow that up with a really good season and show that wasn't just that was a coincidence. Oh, they just caught lightning in a bottle. Because I'll tell you, I waited for Cincinnati's shoe to drop all last season. All last season, I kept saying, yeah, but, and I butted all the way to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, and that was it. And then damn near won the Super Bowl, right? But now we're looking at them, and it's like, okay, they're 0-2. They turned the ball over a bazillion times against Pittsburgh. They didn't look good against Dallas. They tried to come back, and they weren't able to get it done. But I mean, they just don't look like the team that just represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. They've got to definitely get on their grind and start winning some games. And it's none of these games are tough. And you're right, you can't carry over what you did last year to this year. And no matter how much fans want to say that, but they were a great team last year. Yeah, that don't matter. None of that matters. It's a new year. Every team in the league is different. Some have winning, cultures, and some have just, they're winners with their coaches, and quarterbacks are proven winners each and every year. But that carryover don't happen, man. It's you got to start over from scratch, like you said.
I thought, just like you, that eventually the offensive line was going to catch up to him last year. I just was like, ain't no way. With all of this, as old as I am, as much as I've heard this, ain't no way you're going to win consistently with a bad line. And I think it's bit them. Speaking of lines, Bet Online.
It's a good segue right there.
That is Bet Online, man. Bet Online is, what is it, Q? It's your fastest and easiest way to bet on games.
Yeah, it is. You can get all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, podcasts. They got everything you need for college and pro football. There you continue to spot for all your sports wagering information, live betting, esports scores. I mean, and they got everything. It's not just football. They got Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, golf, whatever the case may be. All you got to do is head to the website today, laptop or your mobile device. Check out the trends and all the action. It's betonline.net. It is where the game starts.
And hopefully you guys start with us on Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Raiders. making that your first listen. If you don't, you need to make Locked On NFL your first listen. It is available wherever you get your podcast. It is free on all platforms. And we are grateful because it's your team every day here on the Locked On NFL Network. It's time for the Bet Online six-pack of games, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We like to do this each and every week. We like to look at some games that are coming up that we kind of have some interest in, and we'll tell you why we have the interest in. We'll give you the lines according to betonline.net. Now, we don't ever pick winners and losers based off the lines, and because it's hard enough to pick winners and losers. So I'm not going to roll with the point spread, but I will let you know what the point spread is just in case you want to dibble and dabble and give a cheap plug to Locked On Bets as well. My guy Lee Sterling from ParamountSports.com. Me and him do a show each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network as well. So if you want to get the betting lines and you want to also get the information that you need to know, make sure you tune into that. But Tony, let's get this thing started. All right, we're going to get 3 games from you, 3 games from me. So you pick your first game. You let me know what the first game that you're going to pick, and I'll let you know what the betonline.net line is.
We're going Ravens and Patriots at 1 o'clock.
Okay, there you go. 1 o'clock Eastern. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. So it's Ravens -3 versus the Patriots. Let me know why this is one of the intriguing games for you.
Mac Jones hasn't sold me, even though he's from Jacksonville, and I love the kid and his family. He hasn't sold me that he's ready to let the ball loose, and we can talk about weapons all day. However, with the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, somebody said Lamar Jackson can't hold the lead. And I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, he had 400 yards, 3 tutties. He ran for 100 yards. What does you want him to do? I mean, come on. He ain't the one that gave up 21-point lead in the fourth. And that the fact that they gave up that lead, Q, that means they're going to come out. They're going to come out and they're going to mollywop somebody this week. And I think the Patriots are in the world of hurt.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Ravens and Patriots right there. That is your first game in your 3, and then I got 3 as well. So we got the betonline.net line 6-pack going here in segment number 3 of Locked On Bets. So I'm going to roll with the Bills and the Dolphins. How about that one? The Bills and the Dolphins. The Bills have been handling the business. They've been telling everybody what time it is and that they should be the favorites in the AFC. And the Dolphins, well, they're just handling their business as well. 2-0 on the season. It's a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, and the Bills are favored by 5. Bills -5 versus Dolphins. And look, something's got to give. Both teams are 2-0. The Dolphins had that improbable comeback against Baltimore, as you just mentioned. I don't see how they follow that up. And, I there's a little bit of luck that comes into that. They just got a little bit lucky as well, being able to come against Baltimore. Now they got the Bills that look like a juggernaut, man. So, I look at that line being 5 points. I'm thinking, yeah, it's probably going to even be more than that. I think that the Bills win this game. But, man, that's a good one on paper. And if the Dolphins find a way to win and improve to 3-0, Coach McDaniel, who has had to hear, well, Sean Payton is the guy that they really wanted. And, Tua Tagovailoa, who's had to hear, well, Tom Brady is the guy that they really wanted to have, can just kind of look at everyone and say, how you like me now? Right? Hit you with that old Kumo D. How you like me now? So Bills, Dolphins, that's the first game I have in our 6-pack. What's your second game?
Second game, I got to go with the GOAT and another guy that is right behind the GOAT. I'm going Bucks and Packers, the game that's going to be played in Tampa.
There you go. That's that 4:25 Eastern time kickoff. That's going to be a good one right there. And that's actually a pick'em game. That's how close this one's going to be. Bucks and Packers, according to betonline.net, is a pick'em. Break this one down. Let us know why you're liking this one.
Bucks are going to be throwing the guys that look like me. Ain't no wide receivers in Tampa. Everybody's hurt, right? And then your quarterback's 45. So, I mean, but their defense has played lights out this year.
They're playing good, yeah.
And speaking of throwing the guys you don't know what they look like, I still don't know who the receivers are in Green Bay. So I do think the Packers are going to try to pull this out. I'm going to go with Green Bay to pull the upset. I think Aaron Rodgers can do a little bit more. I think the versatility of having 2 running backs as opposed to 1. And the Bucs are a little bit banged up on the offensive line and the receivers. At some point, injuries. I know everybody talks about next man up, but at some point, that kind of go. It's next man, not next man.
Right. Well, look, I always say this, man. If the next man up was as good as the man he's replacing, he wouldn't be the next man. He would be the man.
That's right.
Right? So I don't care what they say about the next man up. There's a reason why the next man is behind the man, right? So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I like that, though. Packers over the Bucks, and I could totally see that happening. That's a lot of Aaron Jones that you'll see, right, as far as the Packers go, because I don't know the receivers either, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers knows the receivers. My second game, I'm going to go with the game that I talked about in segment number 2, and that's the Raiders and the Titans. The Raiders are traveling to Nashville to take on a 0-2 team. They're 0-2. Something's got to give. The Titans were the number 1 team in the AFC last year and lost to Cincinnati. The Raiders made the playoffs in a crazy year, but again, like you mentioned, can't really carry that over. It's always a new year, so both teams are struggling. The Raiders got to win. They're 2.5-point favorites right now, according to betonline.net, which is a big deal. Usually if you're on the road, right, you're going to be, if it's that close, usually you're about a 3-point underdog. But the Raiders are 2.5-point favorites in this game. So that I find be pretty interesting. And really my biggest thing is, can they find their identity? Are they a passing team? Are they a running team? Are they, is it feed Devontae Adams? Is it spread the ball around? Who are you going to be? Week 1, he had 10 catches and 17 targets. Week 2, he had 2 catches and like 10 targets. I mean, what is it going to be? This, that, or the other? Are you going to run the rock? You got 18 running backs on your roster. What are you going to do? I just want to see if the Raiders could establish their identity. And as far as the Titans go, they got a lot of guys injured. Derrick Henry hasn't started to get off yet. Ryan Tannehill, feel like he's kind of a pumpkin again. He's going back to who he was when he was in Miami. And side note, their offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, I'm very familiar with, as he was offensive coordinator with the Raiders back in the day, and he was terrible then, and I feel like he's starting to be terrible now. So I'm starting to hear rumblings that Titan fans would like to see him out. So that game I'm very interested in, only because I think that they're desperate. I think the Raiders win, but man, I'll tell you what, if they don't win, it's going to be a long flight back to Vegas.
All right, so you do me a favor. If the Raiders can beat the Titans, there's nothing more the Jaguar fans love than the Jaguars winning. Outside of that, than the Titans losing. Okay, when the Titans pooped the pamper the other day and got slaughtered by the Bills, you should have. The people were skipping the work here the very next day, last Friday. All right, so if you do that and put them in a deeper hole, I'm gonna do you a solid. Jaguars are going to LA, and what we're gonna do? We're gonna beat the Chargers. I already picked them to win 31-30. The point spread is 6.5. And
nice.
6.5 for the Chargers. I think the Jags are going to win. So we talked about the Bucs having the Bucs and the Packers with those 2 older quarterbacks. Now we've got 2 young guys, a guy that's proven, and then a guy that wants to prove that he is that guy. So I think what the Jags are going to do, they're going to see how those ribs, if those ribs are done. You know what I'm saying?
As they should.
That's right. Normally when I go to somebody's town, I always check out the barbecue. I want the Jaguars to see if those ribs are going to fall off the bone. That's what I want them to do. But I think they have a good shot at it. And the reason why is because I think they're starting to get an identity and they're going to learn who they are, but they're going to grow up. They're going to grow up. They grew up last week when they beat the Colts 24-0, and they did it in a certain way that had Doug Peterson's imprint all over. And here's the advantage. I don't think they necessarily have an advantage anywhere, talent-wise, one-to-one. But I don't think they have a huge disadvantage. Where I do think they have an advantage, I think Doug Peterson is one of the 6 or 7 best coaches in the league. You don't just go beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl with Nick Foles as your quarterback if you don't have something. And I think he's better than Brandon Staley. So that's the advantage, I think. I think he's going to have those guys ready. And you're going to do us a solid because the Raiders are going to win in Tennessee. And then we're going to do you a solid, and the Chargers are going to lose at home to Jacksonville.
I'll tell you right now, if Jacksonville beats the Chargers, everyone in Raider Nation is going to give out a big Duval.
That's right. That's right. They will. And my man, Matt Williamson, will look to be omniscient because he picked the Jaguars to finish very close to the top of the division. You can catch Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock on the Peacock and Williamson NFL show, wherever you get your podcast. Man, check them out because Matt's a former NFL scout and Brian Peacock is one of the best on our network, and they give it to you like nobody else. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow them wherever you get your podcast. And man, this has been fun, man. I'm sleepy. I'm tired, but that's all right. It's been fun catching up with you out there on the left coast. When I get to Vegas, man, I'm gonna have to. I don't know if you eat meat because I know we got some people that's vegan.
Oh man, hey, I do, man. I do.
All right, so I'm gonna buy you a steak. We're gonna go somewhere. I heard I ain't gonna even mention the name. I'll tell you, it's down on Fremont Street. I heard there's a real good steakhouse.
Yeah, there is.
Get to Vegas. Yeah, I'll get over there. Right where the Circa Hotel is, somewhere down there. So I'm gonna check you out, man, when I get out there, man. And make sure you check out Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Raiders daily because it's your team every day for your boy Q and T-Wig. We'll see you next time. Y'all take care.